So I was watching one of my favorite YouTube channels over at Just Mopar Joe this morning, and he was talking about some air conditioning that he's going to be doing on that real nice red four-door that he's working on. So I decided that, you know what, I had a AC retrofit, maybe you might want to call it an upgrade, when I installed the AC in my 74 Plymouth Duster. And I thought maybe somebody might be interested in the different things that I did. So basically what it is, when I bought the car, it had everything except the underhood portion. Didn't have a condenser, didn't have a compressor, didn't have any of the lines. So what did I do? I couldn't easily locate the original pieces because here in Canada, not a lot of the A-body cars came with air conditioning. So I decided to do the next best thing. Find some easily available junkyard parts and do my best to make them work. What I ended up doing, I used the lines and compressor from an 85 Dodge pickup. And I got an aftermarket condenser, an aftermarket dryer and pressure switch. And I made it all work just with a whole bunch of research on fittings. I was able to use the original discharge and inlet hoses off the compressor. I had to make up a couple of new hoses to go between the condenser and the dryer and the evaporator. But anyway, if a little detail on what I did is interesting to you, stick around and I'll share with you what I know. Now we'll start here with the compressor and the mounts. The compressor and mounts and all that is just right off. I'm sure it was an 85 Dodge pickup. I mean, it's all the same LA small block, so there's no reason that it shouldn't bolt together just like it does. Now, this hose is the factory hose off of the truck. It comes back here, and the only thing that I had to do was just put the new, oh, you can't even see it. It's all taped up, put the new fitting on with the crimping tool. Now also, this stuff is all factory as well. I had to put this 45-degree fitting on that other original hose so that it could connect to the condenser. Now, one of the key components to being able to use the C171 compressor and the factory brackets is your intake manifold choice is somewhat limited. Now this is an old Edelbrock SP2P. The big thing is over here your thermostat housing needs to be pushed over to the driver's side. I'm using, in my car, I'm actually using a Edelbrock Performer 318/360. And another one that I know will work will be the Edelbrock Torquer 2. I'm pretty sure the factory cast iron intakes will work as well, because I would imagine you must have been able to get air conditioning in a 4-barrel carb at some time, but I can't guarantee that. Now this is one of the new hoses that I had to make from the bottom side of the condenser up and over to this right here on the dryer. Big thing is especially when you're making the 90-degree fittings, make sure you mark, like I think you can see, where is it, right here, where I had to make a little line, and I made a corresponding line on the hose so that everything is clocked correctly and you don't introduce a bunch of twists into your hoses. The only other line that I had to make from scratch was this line, and it goes over to the expansion valve there. Now the one thing I will say is the line from the bottom of the condenser to the dryer and the line from the dryer over to the expansion valve, if I had the factory hard lines, it would have looked a lot nicer, and I'm pretty darn sure I would have been able to incorporate them into those two lines. But you know what? I did what I could, what I had to do with the budget that I had, and it works very well. The only real reason to think about doing it any other way would be for aesthetics. Now, if you look right here, this capillary tube off the expansion valve wraps around this fitting. And what it does is it gets a temperature reading off of this line, and that is what varies the orifice size within the expansion valve to retain the cooling. Now, from factory, there was a little well that capillary tube went into. I didn't have that, so I wasn't too sure what to do, but what I ended up doing, like I said, I wrapped it around and around the bare metal portion of this fitting, and I insulated it and wrapped it up really good with some fibrous insulation, some heat reflective aluminum foil tape, and then just some real good, honest electrical tape around the outside just for strength. And honestly, it works super well. Now the dryer just bolts in where the old charcoal canister used to go. I kind of wish, if I had it to do over again, I would have tried to find a place on the outside of the radiator support to mount this. But you know what? It's not too bad where it is, and it works real well. As you can see also, there's the pressure switch that screws right into the top of the dryer. These are all NAPA parts, and I'll share the part numbers for everything that I used in the description of this video. Now I want to say again, this works extremely well. I don't know, I honestly, I think I just got lucky because I was teaching myself about air conditioning systems as I figured out how to make this work. But I think some of the keys are right down there. You can see I picked the largest condenser that I could fit in front of the factory 26-inch radiator. Now with the A-bodies, all the air conditioning cars came with a 26-inch radiator. So now with all the parts information that I'm going to share in the description of the video, this is actually a fairly simple, easy junkyard parts sort of installation. I don't know whether you call it upgrade or not. I'm sure the old V2 air compressors were fine, or AC compressors were fine too, but from what I'm told, these compressors are a little bit better and they handle a little bit higher RPM than the old V2s did. One thing I have to say is, please don't judge me for the messiness and disgustingness of my engine compartment. Basically what I've been doing is just adding stuff, making it functional with the intention of going back and making it beautiful in the future. Whether that'll ever happen or not, I don't know. I sure hope so, because I would really like to be able to pop the hood on this thing at a car show or something like that and actually be proud of the stuff that's under there. One thing about it is this line here, it could stand to be a little bit longer. The reason that it is the way it is, and you know, it's fine, it's functional and everything, but if it was a little longer, you could route it a little bit nicer. But the reason that it is the way it is because that is, like I mentioned before, that's just a factory line from the Dodge pickup. And the way they go right in the passenger side corner of the firewall, kind of right by the fender. And I had to cut off the factory Dodge truck fittings, and basically this is the amount of hose that was left. Like I say, it works just fine. Just maybe aesthetically it would be a little nicer if it was a little longer. And you can actually replace that with a longer hose. This here ferrule, or this can be replaced, and this fitting can be reused if you wanted to put a longer chunk of this hose in here. I didn't worry about it because, like I said, I just wanted to get her done. Now this vacuum canister is original on all the AC cars. And this line is the factory line that goes in and feeds the AC controls. All that stuff is all original stuff to the car, because all the interior in the cab parts, if that's what you want to call it, all that is factory. The controls, the evaporator, the AC box, all that stuff is factory. And the only additional stuff is basically from this point, from these two hoses on the way out underneath the hood. That stuff is from the Dodge truck. One more thing is the wiring. Now, in the factory harness, there's only the one wire that comes out from the harness. What I didn't really pay too much attention as to how the factory system was wired up, but I'm assuming it's real similar to this. The wire from the factory harness goes into the pressure switch. On the other side of the pressure switch, it goes to my my compressor clutch right here. And the last thing that I did, it really made it a lot nicer and a lot more drivable, is I added that little kick-up solenoid that just ups my idle while the air conditioning is on. Because without that, at least in my situation, I had to 2-foot it with the AC on when I was idling at a stoplight or something like that. Just something that I did to make it a lot nicer and a little more drivable. So that's it. I'm really happy with the installation. It's been in there for, well, since about 2018, and it's 2022 now. So it's been in there for about 4 years operational, and I have had no trouble with it. It blows nice and cold to the point where I pretty much never leave it on full bore for the full trip when I'm going anywhere, unless it's a real short trip. It gets nice and cold. I'm really happy with it. So there's a couple big things that I maybe learned. Throw the biggest condenser you possibly can in there. Fortunately, the air conditioning A-body cars come with a 26-inch radiator, and I had my original 26-inch radiator record and I reused it. So I think that's a really helpful thing. Finding someone that can help you out with crimping air conditioning hoses, that's another big thing. From the research I've done, a lot of people are able to find somebody locally to them. I was just super fortunate that a buddy of mine had a crimping tool that he allowed me to use. So there you go. If there's anything that I skipped or anything that I missed or any detail that you'd like a little bit more than that, just throw a comment down in the comment section and I'll do my best to help you out and clarify anything that maybe wasn't straightforward from the video. Anyways, thanks for watching.